Good morning. My
Morning.
name's Heather Garbutt, and I'm a love and relationship coach. And I'm here with the lovely Dr. Clara Kalu, who's a mindset and energy coach. And I'm going to talk to her about what she does and how she empowers people. She coaches people who've lost heart in their work to be revitalized and enjoy it again, feel empowered and enjoy their life. Welcome, Dr. Clara. You are so wonderful. I love being with you.
Thanks, Heather. Love you, love you, love you too. So appreciate you doing this for me.
No, you're very, very welcome. So tell us about the work that you do.
Well, Heather, essentially you put it in the most beautiful sentence. You've described what I do probably far better than I would. And yeah, it's about, we spend a lot of time at work. And for me, work is it's a relationship. Everything in this world for me is a relationship. And actually, the relationship with work is two-way. So how do you experience your work is a reflection of how your work is experiencing you. So my work is really to help people who have become disconnected from their work. They might even go as far as to say they hate their job. And it's to really help them understand what is it about the job that they hate, and look for some really practical things that they can do so that they are not stuck in the place thinking it has to be like this. So there's a practical side to it, and then there's the inner work side to it as well. Hope that makes some sense. Is that clear?
Yeah, so you're giving them some practical things, but also then some inner shifts in themselves so that they can attitudinally change. And when we've talked, you've talked about it not just being about work, or that's really the central thing, but you want them enjoying their lives, and work is the aspect you can get into that with.
Exactly, because most people have got a story about work or experiences about work. So I would say, if I was to break down the program, I would say there are three elements to it. There's the self-love part, which is kind of where you've alluded to in the attitudinal shift or the mindset shift. So there's self-love. Then there's the live part, which is like it sounds, am I looking after myself? How much balance have I got in my life, social wise? And then there's the work. So if we kind of understand what's going on in ourselves, start making those changes, really deciding that we matter, you as an individual matter, that then flows into how do you live? And then that also energy flows into how do we work? So yeah, although it looks like we've worked backwards, we've actually worked from in the right direction.
I get it. Yeah, so you have a mission. Do you want to tell me about that?
Yeah, so my mission is to help 10,000 people who work, who would define themselves as hating their job or feeling disconnected from their job. Perhaps they're lying in bed and dread when that alarm clock goes off. Maybe they're having those kitchen floor moments, crying on the kitchen floor, really not looking forward to going to their job. And that's hard to know that people think that they've got to stay in that state, be in that emotional place and keep working. Then they fix up and turn up to work. That we can definitely do something about that. However far along you are on the scale, if you know that you're losing connection with your job, I'm looking for 10,000 to help 10,000 people get that fulfillment, reignite their day, and live their life that they want to live.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. So why are you doing it?
Well, Heather, I have so many work stories. I've worked in education, in higher education, and I've worked in the health service for several years. And overall, it's been a positive experience. There have been times when I would say it's been less than positive. I would say the most recent experience that enabled me to bring in the things that I'm using in my program and intend to use to help other people with was a number of years ago, maybe 10 years or so ago. And I had a really toxic relationship, passive aggressive, semi undermining, would you call it bullying, you know, where you kind of come out of it and you think to yourself, that conversation was weird. I feel horrible. Why do I feel so bad? And it was playing on my mind, things that were said, and I saw what I thought were iniquities going on, where certain people were getting things and I didn't feel that I was getting quite the same treatment, and that whole piece there. And it, for several years, it really affected me. Why it affected me was I had to use a lot of my own energy, my will, and my determination to block that out. And it's almost like you're trying to walk through heavy, thick mud, the energy that it takes. So you're tired before you even start. And you're shattered at the other end of the day. And one of the things that I did was to decide that that relationship was going to change. And I made that decision inside my heart and inside my own mind. I examined myself. Why am I experiencing this? And I really had to look at how could I be contributing to this, whether it was intentionally or unintentionally. Then I decided how I wanted the relationship to look like, how I wanted to feel in that relationship, how our communication was going to be, how we would be smiling and talking to each other, how that same person would be singing my praises. And I made a decision. So I wrote all of these things out. I created an intention around that. And I really allowed myself to feel into that space. Before I go too much further, one of the things I did was release from my own mindset. I released and forgave myself for things that have happened, that whatever I was bringing in to that, intentionally or unintentionally, I released those. And then once I started with my intentions, I was coming in from a platform, a much more a cleaner platform, where I could be more in alignment with what I wanted, rather than keep on trying to wade through the treacle, the energetic treacle.
So you were living in sort of old patterns of thinking and feeling that probably, I'm guessing, came from your childhood, about things having to be hard and you not getting really looked after properly or seen or valued. And, you know, maybe that your parents didn't intend that at all, but the sense that you made of it may well have gone that way. I don't
They
know
were
if
busy.
that's, yeah, they were busy. Yeah,
They
exactly.
They
Yeah.
worked, and it was like that. And like you say, intentional, 100% don't believe it was, but that's the way I experienced my life. And I think it's interesting as you speak, because I remember a particular story about when I reflected, my parents never had good relationships with their managers. So somewhere in my formative years, I've absorbed the energy that says, oh, at work, you won't get great relationship with your manager.
Right. Yeah.
And sure enough, although I did all the things, educated, worked hard, did all those things, that has been a recurring pattern. So when I said I looked at myself first, that's really where that's where the work began.
And just, can you tell us a bit where you are now, having done that work, just so people can really see how the transition and transformation can take place?
Yeah, so it's as if it's been a complete transformation. gosh, it's so different. So remember when I said one of my intentions was that my manager, that same individual, would be singing my praises? Believe you me, within 3 or 4 weeks of me making this intention and me showing up to any work related activity with embodying that sense of they need me, they're gonna love me, heck, I love me, I'm good at this, they're gonna be sick. Those were the energies that I brought in. I can remember the first time there was a genuine smile on that person's face when I was introduced, when it was my turn to do, we go around and everybody updates about what we're doing and what we've been up to and what we're looking into. I can remember just the high energy in his voice. And I thought to myself, okay, this thing does something, it works. And coming from a scientific background, I wanted to do it again to see if it wasn't just a fluke, and it wasn't a fluke. It was better and better and better. So, and it was something quite small, and I would encourage anybody who comes on the program, it might look like there's a huge amount of things, but pick one small thing, because that builds your confidence, that helps you get your wings or your feathers, as however you want to describe it. And as you build your confidence and you manage the techniques and the method, really simple methods, and see those changes, that builds confidence. You feel better things happen, you feel even, and it goes on like this. And yeah, I'm so pleased that I did it. Do I regret having had those experiences? No, now I don't. At the time, it felt lost. It felt horrendous, because I was in that woe is me, this is awful, I don't deserve this treatment. That was my space. But I had to go into that really bottom of the loop space, as it were, to decide how I really wanted it to be. Just flipped it and watched it happen and kept doing my work. But I created it in here first and in here.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit about how your work works on a practical level, the nuts and bolts of it, so people can understand what they get?
Yeah, so as I said earlier on, the program breaks into 3 parts: your self-love, the live, and then the work. So the first part really is to get to understand yourself. So some people might have done personality tests. We're going a bit deeper than that. So we'll be looking at what you inherited energy-wise, as in terms of work, what beliefs and agreements you formed probably as a tiny child, that work is like this because you've picked it up from maybe older brothers or sisters, parents, whoever your caregivers were. They would have been talking about work and the agreements that you've made there. Then we do that, and we release those small traumas if they are there. But we release those. Remember, we're talking about coming in on nice ground that's receptive to plant and grow things on. So clearing up those old thinking patterns and deciding what would we really like to think.
So you're saying sort of clearing the ground so you can really plant the new seeds and let them grow fully and properly.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And don't be surprised, there might be the odd weed that comes up, as it were. So yeah, it's the same with us in our thinking, because we've probably been holding these patterns for several years. They will still come up, but it's about recognizing them and releasing them, and just getting, how we say, course correcting and carrying back on with what you decide, the picture it is that you wish to see, live and experience. So we do a lot of that cleaning, let me say, that releasing, just to get yourself ready, and then start looking at what your values are, what really matters to you, Then we go on to the live space. How am I looking after myself? How do I show up really? Yeah. And that relates to how we see ourselves in the very beginning. And then what one thing is it that you really want to focus on when we'll look at your life, your wheel of life, let's say, and then you'd say, what is it that you really want to look at? Pick one thing and then applying the model, applying the principles and watching that improve.
Lovely, lovely. Really coming alive. As you're talking, I can sort of see the pictures, people waking up and coming alive. Yeah. So tell me, who are the people that really benefit from your services?
This program, although I believe it would work for everybody, the people who would benefit most are those who are attuned and ready and open to being attuned to themselves. There are people who prefer to be given things to do and told things to do, and that works all right for them. But for some people who want to actually understand what it is that they are doing on a deeper level, working with people who are attuned to their mindset, who are attuned to their energy work, who appreciate that everything that we do is all about the relationship we have within ourselves. And even if you didn't realize it, but you like the sound of it and you're curious because you want to know how this could help you, these are the people who I think would have the greatest benefit.
Yeah. So they're attuned to themselves and they're feeling stuck and want more support to grow through. Yeah. Yeah. So what happens in your early groups? What happens there?
In the early groups, it's working together. I like that you use the word groups. So we have a workbook. I've created a workbook where people can map their energy. I don't want to say too much about that because it's easier when you're actually having it in front of you. But you map your energy over a period of around 30 days, and you get to start to identify patterns. And the beauty of working in smaller groups is that people can bounce off each other. So you might want to set up like a WhatsApp group or something like that, where you're kind of working through stuff together. The thing is, it's so personal to individuals. You might have two people who have a very similar energy map, but what's going on underneath is very unique to them. So that's why I like to work in small groups, because in addition to the journal or the workbook, there's also a live call with me for an hour in these small groups where we get to look in more detail at what's going on with individuals and really helping them to do the exploration and make some decisions about what it is they really want or what's working and what's coming up for them. So I hold that space for them on those live coaching calls.
So you get live coaching as well as all of this. It's lovely. It's lovely. And generally, how long?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. How long do your programs take?
Yeah, and you see, again, because everybody's so different, and people maybe take a little bit longer to get started. Some people might get it and it flows straight away. And then obviously there's life that happens for people when they leave the space. So up to 10 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, really depending on what people feel they need. What's really important is that this is a skill for life. It's not that you just do this and everything goes perfect. This is a skill for life, and it goes into any aspect of your life. So the passion that I feel about giving people skills that they can do so they're not dependent on me or a coach, simple things that you can do all the time for yourself. That's where I'm at.
Beautiful. Yeah. So whatever happens, you can keep growing through it and empowering yourself. Yeah. And is there anything else you'd like people to know that we haven't yet covered?
So yeah, I think let's keep our minds open. This is about being open to things going well. Understand also that this can take time, and sometimes things that are changing and improving are way deep inside that may not be showing up actually in the reality of it. So it's about sticking with it, trusting the process. As many of the programs, you might have heard that said on other programs, trust the process. It works in as much as you do the work. That's what I really want you to understand. And please, if you find that you do something or you're in the program and you're making progress and something kicks you off track, it's normal. That's what happens in life. Pat yourself on the back. Please, this criticism of self, let's not be having that. Pat yourself on the back for doing as much as you've done and get back on track, because that's where it feels good. So one of the things you're going to be really good at is knowing what feels good to you, rather than what feels right to other people, what feels good to you. And you'll be able to discern that for yourself. At the end of the program, be able to celebrate your wins, and you walk away knowing that you have a skill that you can use for life in any aspect of your life, because it's in your mind, and you have control over what you want to think and how you want to feel. And that's really the sum of it.
Beautiful. That's lovely. Thank you so much. How can people get in touch with you?
So if you see me on LinkedIn, you can send me a direct message on LinkedIn. The program really is run through organizations. So you might be seeing this as an HR leader or someone in staff development or staff experience, that side of things. And you might know people who would be suitable through your work. So you can contact me directly on LinkedIn, and we can take up a conversation about the program and the prices and group sizes and what you yourself as an organization will get out of it.
Thank you so much, Clara. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.